Hello there, and thank you so much for joining me once again. March 30th. My God, it's already time to pay rent again. Where's it gone? I don't know how you guys are doing, but I have been busy, in this year of the fire horse galloping faster and faster and faster. I certainly can attest to the fact that my own life has sped up quite a bit, and I'm doing everything thing I can right now just to keep up with it and trying not to get tongue tied right now. I've been on the phone making a lot of calls today, and uh, finally started losing my ability to talk. And I thought, oh, great. Now I've got to do a live stream. But I wanted to be here very much for you. And I'll just wait for some people to start coming in. Right now, I don't know if anybody's watching, but at least you'll be seeing this when it's in replay. It's still humid here in Los Angeles. They keep saying that it's cooling down. Let me look at my phone here. What is it right now? It is claims here it's 72 degrees. It feels a lot hotter, I think, because it's just really humid here right now. Hey, Heidi Christensen. Oh, thank you for saying that. Yes, you're among my friends too. And Ward, hi. How's the trip planning going? Well, it's going. It's going, and it's quite possible Whimsy will come on here in a bit and we may do some more card readings about it just to confirm we are going where we're actually going. And Andy, hello, Andy. Well, I've got three of my friends here. Um, it's really appreciated. So, what's going on with you guys? How are you doing, each of you? I was just saying how it's just been really just humid and sticky here in Los Angeles. At least maybe it's because I'm just very heat sensitive. I've always have been ever since I grew up in Virginia, where it would just be like a swamp in the summertime, and I never ever learned to like it. And when I first moved to Los Angeles 40 years ago, it was actually a lot drier here. We have definitely had climate change here. There's just no question about that. It was never this humid before. Let's see here. Let me look at the comments here. Heidi, I showed my son, Jimmy, the sketch you did of my dad. He said you captured his papa perfectly. Oh, that makes me so happy. Heidi, you really touched my heart when you wrote me and told the story of your father and his gracious generosity to children, with dressing up like Santa Claus. And I thought that was just so sweet. And that was the portrait you wanted me to do of your father. And I wanted to do that for you because I knew it had meaning. And that's part of what I do. I work professionally as an artist, but I also like to make art accessible to people wherever I can. Make it to where people can afford it, because art should be accessible. Just like I feel when we are gifted with talents, we have a responsibility to share those talents. That just feels like a duty. What was this here? Ward, happy 96th birthday to John Aston, played Gomez Adams. That's right. I forgot that he's still around. Someone who surprised me is still around. Remember the film critic on the Today Show, Gene Shalit? Well, I just assumed he had passed away many years ago. No, the other day it was in the news that he had his 100th birthday. I, hey, God bless him. Yeah, but anyway, Heidi, thank you for those kind words. And I'm really pleased you're happy with your portrait. Uh, we went back and forth with our emails and so forth, but we finally got it done and got it to you. Chuck, did you get my progress on my cross stitch? Oh, Andy, let me look through my emails again. I apologize to you, my friend. I think I missed that email. I've been crazy, crazy busy the last week or so, and I haven't always been checking my email as much as I need to. So I will go back and look because I'd like to see that. You did a cross stitch of the Three Stooges, a picture. Oh yeah, I'll look for that. I want to see that. I don't know if I can do that live in real time. No, I better not. I was gonna see if I could find it on my iPad, but I thought, no, I better keep my attention on this and say that for after the show. Uh, too much multitasking, too much patting my head on patting my head and rubbing my stomach and standing on my head and doing a ventriloquism act or whatever. Let's see here. What was this? Heidi? Jimmy never met him in his life, but he did come a couple Halloween nights ago and spent 30 minutes with him and got to know his grandson. That's lovely. That's lovely, Yeah, there's a people are becoming more and more open to that. That's what I do. I do that on Whimsy's show. I do it in private sessions. I did a private reading just Friday night that went really, really well. But I always remind people that everybody has the gift to do this, to receive. On the other side, they're just waiting. They're just waiting to come and talk to us. Sometimes it's simple as calling their name out 2 or 3 times. It's like making a phone call. They come through. My mom comes through a lot. What was this word? I always like Gene Shalit. Somewhat reminded me of the Cookie Monster. Yeah, he had that trait. I think it was his trademark look. The Brillo hair and the Brillo mustache and everything. He probably wouldn't surprise me if there was a period where he wanted to get rid of all of that, like be clean shaven, get a crew cut or something, but he knew that's what the public expected of him. It's how the public identified with him. Let's see here. Any other comments? Oh, and Kelly there. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for joining also. And Andy, Andy, you got a new vinyl record. Is the days I got a new vinyl record. It's the days when Jack Benny and Fred Allen and the days of the radio feuds. Oh yeah. That was, a good example of a modern day equivalent of that is Jimmy Fallon. No, I'm sorry. Jimmy Kimmel. Got my Jimmys mixed up. Sorry, folks. Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon. This supposed feud they've had running for like 15, 20 years. And it's all for show. I understand they're actually good friends in real life, and it's very tongue-in-cheek the way they play up this feud. Well, it was the same way with Jack Benny and Fred Allen. They were very good friends in real life, but they thought it would just be so funny to start this feud on both their radio shows and have their writers just come up with all of these insults back and forth, and the public loved it, so they just never dropped it. I wonder if Lucy ever felt tempted to ditch the red hair and go gray. Yes, as a matter of fact, she did. There was one time she actually did do it, and it was a very short-lived experiment. It was around, she ended Here's Lucy, 1974. That was her last of her big television shows, that was ran for 6 seasons immediately after the Lucy show. And of course, she came back 12 years later with Life with Lucy, and that unfortunately only lasted 8 episodes before it got canceled. It was not successful. But anyway, in 1975, you can find this clip on YouTube where she is appearing on the Dinah Shore show, and Vivian Vance was with her. So it's pretty easy to find. And you will see Lucy with a dark brunette wig. And the reason I say wig is because Lucy, frankly, always wore wigs in her latter years whenever she made appearances on shows, because she would wear these facelift tapes. She never could get a surgical facelift because she didn't heal well. So she wore lifts, and she had to wear a wig on top of that to cover it. So anyway, she is wearing a dark wig with gray in it. And I talked to a friend of hers once who said, yes, Lucy really was eager to change her image. She was locked in the Lucy character, the chimerical redhead. And she wanted to do that. As you said, go brunette or go gray, and if anything, she wanted to pursue a serious dramatic career. She was a very fine actress, and she put all that on hold for 20 more than 23 years to be the Lucy character. And of course, she loved doing that character, and it brought her immortality, fame beyond belief. But she was hungering to for a more serious image change, but the public just wouldn't let her. And let's face it, Lucy without her red hair is like Charlie Chaplin without his hat and cane. That's kind of the way people responded to it. Let's see. Word, where did you find vinyl? That's about as scarce as hen's teeth these days. Well, actually, places like where I live here in Los Angeles, no, you can get vinyl pretty easily. Like there aren't too many music stores left, just like there aren't too many bookstores left, but we still have a very famous place called Amoeba Records in downtown Hollywood. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining. Yeah, it's in downtown Hollywood. They actually moved locations recently. They used to be at Cinerama Dome, but you can go in there and find a massive collection of vinyl. And a lot of that, of course, is vintage vinyl. I mean, when you say vinyl is scarce, vintage vinyl, my God, you ask just about anybody of a certain age, and they're going to have probably boxes of vinyl records, either in their basement or up in their attic or in the back of the closet. Probably in the attic's not a good idea because it gets very hot. And I know from my own experience, vinyl does not hold up well in heat. And I learned that lesson when I moved out to Los Angeles in 1985 in a U-Haul truck towing my car behind me. And I had vinyl records with an emphasis on had vinyl records. I had them all packed up in the back of the U-Haul. And when it came time, it was somewhere in the desert of New Mexico, Arizona, California. I had to drive through a lot of hot desert in the summertime. And when I arrived in LA and started unpacking, my records are just all warped and melted and destroyed. And so much for that. Anyway, you can find vinyl. And also you can probably find vinyl on places like eBay. Right, Chris? We know someone that loves his eBay. Sure you can find it. So yes, as Andy said, eBay Ward. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you found that. But also, a lot of those old radio shows. Let me see if I can reach in my drawer, which is right in front of me. I have this from a coffee table. I have this great old steamer trunk with drawers in it. I have a collection of old time radio shows myself. I love them. I love them. And let me show you what I have mine on. I have thousands, literally thousands of old time radio shows, all on this flash drive. Yes, my Batman keyring. They're all on this little flash drive in the MP3 format. Frankly, the sound quality is just fine, for old vintage radio shows. I have them going from 1928 all the way up to the 50s. I have every Jack Benny show ever done. I have every Burns and Allen. I have every Lux Radio Theater, what have you. To me, they're just fun. It's sometimes you just want to lay back and listen to an audiobook or just listen to a theater play. Or with these comedians, we're talking some of the great masters, truly. Jack Benny, Burns and Allen, Bob Hope. The timing was extraordinary. The wonderful cast they had on the show, the regulars, and the writing was good. Sometimes I'm amazed when I listen to a show that's like close to 90 years old and it still holds up. It still works. I think it's because there was just so much human truth in the scripts, so much truth in the humor, and that's just universal. And also, sometimes I find old radio shows the closest thing there is to time travel, because these shows were all done live. We have the recordings because someone would literally take like a blank record, with a needle that would cut into it. And that's how they would record the shows, because there wasn't audio tape until at least, I think, the mid to latter 1940s. So that's the only way they could save these shows. But many were saved that way, but they were performed live. So when you're listening to it, say a show from 1936, it takes you back to 1936. You're there. You're listening to the commercials. You're listening to the announcer. You're listening to everything exactly as it happened in the moment. You can lose yourself in that. Now, I find that fun. Others may not. Let me go back to some comments here. What was that? Oh, yeah, Heidi Christensen. On my longer drives, I like to listen to radio classics on Sirius. Yeah, they do. I love satellite radio in my car. I have it, have the app on my phone, and I just do the Bluetooth in my car. Yes, Sword, I do have the CBS radio live coverage of December 7th, 1941. I do have that. I do have also, there was a complete broadcast day recorded in, I think it's September 21st, 1939. It's like from 6 in the morning until midnight, the whole day recorded. I've got all those shows. In fact, a lot of this I'm telling you about, you can find yourself. Just look it up on the internet. It's most of the stuff is in, well, it's debatable if it's in public domain or not, but it basically is, because I was looking up if any of the networks like CBS, NBC, everything ever, pursue royalties or sue over people using these things. And I read it's just not worth their time or the money, so they rarely bother. So for intents and purposes, not intensive purposes, they might as well be public domain. Word of the Ozzy and Harriet radio shows before they cast their sons, and they had some unexpected surprises. I haven't listened to them so much, but it was interesting about radio how many real life married couples did work together on the shows. And Ozzy and Harriet's case, they were married and eventually brought their own 2 sons into it. And of course, on the television series, but Jack Benny and Mary Livingston were married. Fred Allen and Portia were married. Burns and Allen. We can go on and on. What was this here? I got a cassette tape of Nixon's briefing on cassette tape about his troubles in Watergate. Something you would find interesting here in California is to go to Yorba Linda. I just almost said San Clemente. It's Yorba Linda, his birthplace, and the Presidential Library and Museum is there. It's, for a history buff like myself, it is absolutely fascinating. And you can listen to the Watergate tapes there. What was this, Andy? He missed all the names I posted before Ward's comment. Andy, what were those names you're talking about? Let me see here if I can go back a little bit. What, Andy, could you remind me again what names you're talking about? I'm looking here. I don't see anything. I see your comment about Three Stooges, you're cross-stitching. I'm so sorry if you can remind me again what names I miss. Oh, wait, Andy, Lum and Abner, Amos and Andy, The Shadow, The Whistlers, yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Oh, yeah, all of those are just wonderful. They hold up well, and they're freely accessible. Almost all of them are on the internet, and it's fabulous entertainment, especially if you got to do a long road trip or something. I try to turn people on to it. A lot of people just don't seem to care too much. Love Orson Welles, even when he did War of the Worlds. Oh my goodness, Orson Welles had the most beautiful, melodious voice. Orson Welles was such a character. He could be quite self-destructive. He could have gone a lot further than he likely should have after making Citizen Kane, but that's a whole story there. That would probably, that might be a future show talking about that, because it would take at least an hour or 2 to go into all of it. There was a wonderful, both a documentary and a movie made about Orson Welles, Citizen Kane, and William Randolph Hearst, Marion Davies. Fascinating, true story, and displays like the greatest drama. It drove a lot of people crazy because they thought it was real. Oh yeah, yeah, about War of the Worlds. Yeah, that's legendary about that. About people thought there was really an invasion of Mars. Martians had come to Earth. Did I say invasion of Mars? I meant Martian invasion of Earth, and it was a very realistic radio show because it was done like a newscast style, even though it was a drama. And there were the story was Nelson Eddy, the opera singer with Jeanette MacDonald. Anyway, he was singing on a radio show. I think it was Charlie McCarthy on the opposite channel. It was very boring, and a lot of people turned the dial. Like, well, what else is there to listen to? So a lot of people tuned into War of the Worlds, not realizing it was a drama because they had missed like the first 10 minutes or so, and that's what happened, and it created absolute chaos. And well, I think when Orson Welles found out about it, I think he was informed. Someone slipped him a note while he was live on the air what was happening, and he actually thought it was hysterically funny, and he just kept on with it, and then later apologized to the nation for the confusion. Let me look at some other comments here. Oh yes, we have Geocosmic Valentine here. Hi, check. When CBS pulled the 16 Minutes episode about ICE sending undocumented people to the torture prison in El Salvador, I checked William Paley's astrochart and saw CBS's possible end. Geocosmic Valentine, that is fascinating because I have had a big hunch. I didn't know the specifics about it, but I've just had an intuitive hunch that CBS is going to be one of the first of the major networks to meet its demise. The networks have been in trouble for a number of years now. It was cable TV, and then it was home video, and then the internet came in, and then streaming was really the nail in the coffin for most of the networks. And hence, that's why the networks, you don't see a lot of scripted shows anymore. You see a lot of crap. You see a lot of cheap game shows and cheap reality shows because that's all they can afford to do anymore. But CBS, certainly CBS News, has been going down by the wayside. It's definitely not Walter Cronkite's news anymore. Dan Rather is in his 90s now, and because he's retired, he speaks his mind and says what he really, really feels. And so CBS News is definitely in trouble, but I've sensed that about the network because I have a feeling that about all the networks. But CBS, that's so interesting. You checked William Paley's astrochart. And for people who don't know, in fact, I wish I had this in arm's length because I've got William Paley's autobiography. It was published, I think, back in the 70s. And I've got the copy here, but I would hold it up. It would be just perfect right now. But yeah, Geocosmic Valentine, William Paley, of course, was the founder of CBS. He was like the heart and the soul of CBS. This was back in the days where it like I talked about the movie moguls, where it wasn't just about money, it was also about art. William Paley cared very much about the content on the network. He was very proud that the CBS network was known as the Tiffany Network. It was like what MGM was to Hollywood studios, CBS was to television. And, CBS is where you had I Love Lucy, Jack Benny, Burns and Allen. I could go on and on there. But anyway, CBS was like number one in the ratings for something like 20 consecutive years. And of course, I Love Lucy was the great cornerstone of CBS. William Paley used to give an order to his secretary. He said, I don't allow anyone to see me when I'm working without permission. However, Lucille Ball, and there was one other person, I can't remember, it might have been Red Skelton. He said, Lucille Ball is the one person I will take her call. I will see her whenever she wants. I remember that. But Geocosmic Valentine, wow, I'd love to talk with you more about that. I'm going to go through the comments more here, but that to me is fascinating. We might even pull some cards on that on the future CBS because, I'm trying to incorporate more readings into the show here. And by the way, folks, I'm looking at the time here. It is 5:42. Around 6:15ish, I am going to have to cut the show early because I am doing cat sitting right now. I'm cat sitting for two different people. One of the people, I will not give their name, but they are the grandchild of an iconic celebrity. But this person is very, very private, and I would never dream of violating that. But that's four cats right there. And then the other person has two cats. And then, of course, I have my Sasha. And Sasha had her 11th birthday the other day, by the way. Just throw that out to you. I am really fascinated by that Geocosmic Valentine because I've been sensing that about CBS. Okay, let's see what else do we have here quickly. I've got to read through these fast because this is going to have to be a shorter show today. Oh yes, Ward, I knew that Orson Welles modeled that show after the coverage of the Hindenburg disaster, and it was quite effective. Any of us who have ever listened to that. Let's see, let me check my comments here. Sorry to be slow here. Hi, Joyce, my dear sweet friend. I need to get in touch with you because we got to get your computer all set up so we can have you on the show with Whimsy. Yes, I agree, Chuck. Yeah, Geocosmic Valentine. Yes. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think that was a very smart move on your part, reading for William Paley because he's so intrinsic. And I think it is next year that CBS has its 100th anniversary. Trying to remember, it started in 1926 or 1927. I have to look that up. Let's see. I see people saying hello to each other. Well, yes, I agree. CBS sold out. I hate the way they treated Stephen Colbert. Really hated that. But I think Stephen Colbert is going to emerge victorious. It's been very exciting to watch his show because he's at the point of what the hell? What have I got to lose anymore? What are they going to do? Cancel me? So he speaks his mind now, just like Jimmy Kimmel. Ever since his incident, he's gotten 3 times more vicious. It's like, what are you going to do to me now? But I think Stephen Colbert will emerge probably on one of the streaming services. That's my own prediction. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if he's got a deal already made and he's just waiting to announce it once the show ends. But it was really crappy what CBS did to him. But I loved what Trey Parker and Matt Stone did, who do South Park. They made this $1.5 billion deal with Paramount Plus, CBS, for international distribution of South Park. And they did it around the time of all the controversy with Stephen Colbert and Donald Trump and his part in this. And if you've been watching South Park lately, and I have not watched South Park, I had not watched it in many years. And a friend showed me a couple of episodes and I was like, oh my God. And I mean, oh my God, they're doing like frontal nudity, saying the F word, the S word. I mean, no, they don't hold back one bit. And they have been vicious with the Trump administration, and particularly over what happened with CBS, basically biting the very hand that feeds them. And they're taking delight in it. What was this, Heidi Christian? I'm multitasking you have to pardon me, please. I am still waiting on my new contact lenses that have not come in yet. So I'm a little visually challenged here if I miss a comment or a word or something. But let me get comments here. Oh yes, Heidi Christian. I'm multitasking my IT job, and this fun group chat we have going on. Well, thank you, Heidi. I've been multitasking myself, and Joyce, who is a gifted astrologer, numerologist, and she's been very gracious to read my chart to me whenever I call her up and go, Joyce, I have a little question here. this year of the fire horse, everything has just been accelerating. My life has just been getting faster and faster and faster and faster. And I'm wondering if this is happening for others of you out there. Certainly many I talk to are saying this to me. What was this, Andy? Remember when they would name CBS many different names, but one comes to mind, Carol Burnett Show. Yes. Oh, yes. Speaking of Tiffany Network, I'll mention this just quickly. The greatest, in my opinion, the single greatest night of primetime television in the history of network television was the 73-74 season of CBS Saturday night. 8 o'clock, All in the Family. 8:30, MASH. 9 o'clock, The Mary Tyler Moore Show. 9:30, The Bob Newhart Show. 10 o'clock, The Carol Burnett Show. I remember as a kid that night was Nirvana, and I don't think it's ever been topped. That kind of quality, writing, acting, each of those shows iconic, and on a Saturday night, which is traditionally a night when a lot of people don't watch television. That's when you had people actually staying home. Those were like the highest rated shows on TV at the time. Let's see, Geocosmic Valentine. I have a suggestion. Would you do a prepared channeling with him to see what his commentary might be about the media shift in our current time? I love that idea. And as a matter of fact, I tell you what, I don't have time to write that down. Here's what I'm going to do. I know I can go back and scroll through this, but I just don't want to lose this. I'm going to take a screenshot of that because that is a fabulous suggestion. And that is what I'm going to do this week. I am going to do a prepared channeling with William Paley. And if I receive anything, which I often do, I'll bring it here next week. Okay. And maybe you can maybe share a little more about the astrology. Maybe I could even do some cards here, because I'm intrigued by that. I've been feeling that about CBS. Yeah. In fact, I'll tell you something that's really ominous, an omen that's ominous. Here where I live in Los Angeles, of course, were the CBS studios, Television City. We've all seen that for years and years, live from Television City in Hollywood. In fact, I even went there once to see Craig Ferguson. My sister is a big fan, so we got tickets to go there, and we saw a taping of the show. And once I actually had a meeting at CBS. I had a 3-hour meeting with one of the vice presidents, the vice president in charge of licensing and marketing. It was when my friend Bart Andrews and I were pitching our I Love Lucy book, the one that I eventually took to Random House and came this close to selling, but no cigar, because the money people shot it down saying it was too expensive to do. I hope one day to publish that book. Whimsy and I had a wonderful guest on our show last week. We do a weekly author interview, and she said to me, she's very intuitive, and she said to me that she saw my book one day being published and one day it being a collector's item. So it's not over till it's over. But I really love that suggestion. I'm going to take that seriously and do that. Pulling cards. I'm just looking through some comments here real quick. And sorry, this keeps blipping on me. When I go down, I lose a lot of comments and I have to go back. I don't know why it does this. I've never mastered this. Let me go back. How far did I lose? Yeah, okay, here we go. And how's Sasha handling being around the cats? Well, she's not around the cats because I go to the houses where the cats are. Oh, now she does smell them on me, and she knows I've been cheating, seeing other cats on the side. My little possessive Siamese who thinks she's my girlfriend. She does. She really does. It's no joke. Let's see here. But let me just look at the comments real quick here. Happy birthday to Sasha. Caden, I like your Chaplin photos. John Mayer and filmmaker uh, McGee purchased the historic Henson Studios, 44 million, renaming it Chaplin Studios to what was that to press Presse, and that might be a typo too. But anyway, I knew that the studio had been sold again. That studio is on La Brea in Hollywood. I've passed it many, many times. Anybody who lives in LA passes that studio. And it's changed hands many, many times. Before these new owners, it was owned by the Jim Henson Company. People do the Muppets. And there used to be on top of the front building a statue of Kermit the Frog, the Chaplin hat and cane and little mustache. It's adorable. And many of us here were sorry to see that get taken down. And I understand that it was given to, I don't know, a college, a museum, somewhere, I think in Georgia, they have it now. I'm so sorry, I don't have the facts to tell you. I don't know we were talking about that, but the statue is in safe hands. And I'm also glad to see the studio is being respected, even renaming it Chaplin Studios. That says right there that they intend to honor the legacy of it. I'm not sure if it's ever been declared a historical landmark or not. It may very well be where you can't change it. Happy birthday greetings for Sasha here. And of course, Joyce Maya is 2 years old now. I got Sasha when she was 10 weeks old, brought her back from San Diego, and now she's 11 years old. I'll get to the cards in just a moment here. Let's see. I see they had the 50th anniversary. Oh, wait, award. They had the 50th anniversary in 1976 with so many stars. Well, actually, that was 1978, not 1976. Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, you wrote 1976. No, it was definitely 78. But I know that incredible moment where they did the roll call with all of those stars of CBS who were, many of them were alive then. So they were all coming out one by one by one. And it was, oh my God, all of those legends. I mean, Lucille Ball, Milton Berle, George Burns, Andy Griffith. I mean, the cast of the Beverly Hillbillies, cast of the Waltons. You could go on and on and on. It was just beautiful, and you can find that on YouTube, by the way, and I highly recommend it. Okay, got to go through these comments real quick because I wanted to do some card readings here. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you, Geocosmic Valentine. Now, look, CBS started January 27th, 1927. That's close to 1926, this year being the 100th anniversary. So it's coming up in a few months. So that's quite fascinating that it could be coming to its end. I'm going to read on that in just a moment here. I promise you. I'm just trying to get through these comments very, very fast. Let's see here. Was this so? Yeah, South Park has been so totally on point. They even started with Cartman as Charlie Kirk before he was unalive. That was wild. Oh yeah, yeah. Heidi Christensen feels like my life is fast forward. That is how my life feels right now. I just literally rattle off your childhood shows. I'm so sorry if I'm missing comments here, but I'm running out of time here, and I want to do at least a few card readings here. So I'm trying to speed through these. If you'll please pardon me. I just lost my place again. Let's see. Here we go. Nickelodeon was once a great channel until SpongeBob took over. Yes. I used to love Nick at Night back in the 90s. I would watch that instead of primetime TV. Those are the days, right? Oh, and yes, I was mentioning Dan Rather. He's very forthright. It's many times, because I am a news junkie, and part of it is I have to be to do the two shows with Dr. Whimsy on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And many times I can tell those newscasters, those reporters, they so want to speak their minds. They so have an opinion, and they can't. That they have a code of conduct, ethics. You're not supposed to do that. But Dan Rather, long retired, he says his mind. Highly recommend him, Substack, YouTube, wherever you can find him. He's still very, very sharp. I think the gist is that Dan Rather pulls no punches and is too much for his one-time network. That's probably true. And I think Dan Rather is rather happy about that, because I understand he's really dismayed with what has happened with CBS, and particularly with CBS News. It's the golden era. The gold leafing has flaked off the golden era, and it's a lot of rusty metal underneath. Heidi Christian, my fun channeling Walter Cronkite. You're giving me some good ideas here. Yeah, because I want to make this channel partial. I'm keeping up with the old Hollywood, the I Love Lucy stories, and so forth. But my dear mentor, Dr. Whimsy Anderson, is reminding me I need to do on here what I do on those two shows: the channeled messages, the card readings, and of course I do private readings as well. If you want to reach me, my email, dransfieldchuck@gmail.com. It's listed in the in the description for my show. Just did a wonderful private reading Friday night. It was very, very exciting. And when I do these, it's very humbling, because I just feel like I'm a vessel. I'm a vehicle for whatever needs to come through for the person I'm reading for. And that's truly an honor, and it's truly a privilege. And I'm very humble about it. I was just talking on the phone with one of Whimsy's clients today. She was asking me about it, and I said, there's no ego in what I do. In fact, I think if I ever did let ego come in, a lot of these entities, people, spirits would not communicate with me. They come to me because they know I will honor them. I will do so with integrity. That's very, very important to me. Let's see here. But yeah, I love that about Walter Cronkite. Going down here, speeding through the comments here. Kelly, your phone is asking to be charged. Well, if that's what it's asking, I think you better go honor it. But thank you for being here. Thank you, Geocosmic Valentine. Let's see. Just get back to my comments here. Because I really appreciate every one of you, and I'm so sorry if I miss a comment or something. Danny, interesting. Jim Henson, Speak of the Devil, was an aspiring filmmaker who initially got into puppeteering to get into filmmaking. Well, it's always fascinating, because I always say that's when you're following your journey, where you're really in the moment and you're listening to your intuition. It will often take you in steps like that. It'll take you to a step like, what? Why am I here? What am I doing this for? But okay, I'm enjoying it. It feels right to me in this moment, as I'm sure he discovered. I'm sure he discovered that was his true calling. And maybe the desire to be a filmmaker was almost like the bait on the hook to get him to go forward, for the universe to take him to, like, no, you are a puppeteer. You are going to be one of the most famous puppeteers who ever lived. You're going to touch the hearts and souls of millions through your puppetry. And that's what he found. And by the way, that's true for every single one of us. That's why it's so important to stay firmly in the moment. The past is done. I know it's ironic because I talk about the past a lot, but because I love history. I love history in general, but the past is done. The future hasn't happened, but the moment right now, this is, as my dear friend Jennifer Norton, who is an energy healer, said, Chuck, the moment right now is where the goodies are. This is where if we're still, we're quiet, we listen, this is where we get our instructions. And just like I was just saying, sometimes it just takes you step by step by step, but just keep listening to that, keep following it. You will be led to your purpose. I can almost promise you that. day once in college. I took a film class which I showed a short subject made by and starring Jim Henson, and, and to do with either Sesame Street or the Muppets. So I bet that was interesting because he had quite a life. It seems like I remember watching Annie biography or something about Jim Henson a long time ago, and of course we lost him way too young. That's it. Yeah, Misty Land 2, where Tom Brokaw and Ted Koppel both turned 86, February 6th. Wow. Hard to think, particularly hard to think of Tom Brokaw as being 86. What was this, Heidi Krishna? Yes, Bashir says to follow your highest passion until you can't go there anymore, and then find the next passion and follow that. I'm in agreement. That's any of us who have been around a few decades, that it is true. It is true. We do acquire wisdom, life experiences. There's a lot that rolls off our backs, but we also are more attuned to recognizing things like that. And I've always kept journals of my life, at least the last 45 years. And I have so much of my life documented because I always write honestly in the moment in real time. And I write it like I'm writing a letter to myself. No one else is going to read this. Well, maybe after I'm dead, I don't know. But it's just for me. And I am very honest in what I'm feeling, like if I'm freaking out in the moment, or I'm sad, or I'm happy, or whatever, or I don't understand. Why is this happening to me right now? Why? And then, well, if you have your journal, you can go forward about 3 months and then go, oh, that's why that happened. Because if that hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. And go forward, this wouldn't have happened, and this wouldn't happen. And thank God that happened. And I can promise you, I think anyone can look back on their lives and see that. And so that helps us to trust as we move forward. As I said, staying in that moment, purpose to purpose to purpose. Want to hear a crazy synchronicity? My boyfriend's daughter and my daughter share the same birthday. That's probably no accident. I mean, often when there's synchronicity, there's something in that, something to be told. Sometimes I can even look into that. But anyway, let me see here at 6:04. I promised that I would do this for at least a little bit today. Would anybody like to ask me a question about themselves? Let me pull a card for you. I'm definitely going to do a channel reading with William Paley first. I might even try cards. In fact, let me see. William Paley. How do you feel about the future of CBS? I don't know. I always just let whatever fall out here. He was very always proud of CBS. That's certainly no surprise there. I know I'm stating the obvious because it was the Tiffany network. But the first thing he was telling me, bravado. That's how he always regarded CBS, with great pride, bravado. But there has just been too much competition, as I was saying earlier. Sometimes it's funny how the cards will match this. Competition, tug of war. It's too much. Definitely deprivation. Definitely. I think CBS makes a fraction of what they once made as a network. Now, of course, I realize CBS is also part of a big conglomeration now. Paramount owns CBS. Isn't Paramount also about to acquire Warner Brothers? And then there's the Sky Media and all that. It's all tied in together. But it's like CBS is being swallowed up by that, and it's starting to disappear. But I know before all of this, profits were way, way down for CBS. So there has been deprivation. Shadow. There's a shadow over CBS. There's another, and There's been a lot of deceit, a lot of despair going on. And, I'm going to go into this deeper if I can do a channel reading with him, but yeah, loss. This is not looking good. And the fact that you had that, Geocosmic Valentine, you had that in your astrology. I've had hunches. We'll just stop it at this point here with reading on this, but it's certainly not looking good at all, just based on using oracle cards here. I don't know. Oh, future CBS. What is the future CBS? I got 3 of Swords. Painful truth. Yeah, I think that's what William Paley is trying to say. There's just a lot of painful truth of what's happening to CBS and the loss. Okay, any of you know your astrology? The tower falling. And sometimes that can be a positive card, but it definitely means monumental change. Sometimes it can be breakup, destruction, devastation, something that has to be so that something else can be. So it sounds like CBS is having its tower moment. Wow. Okay. Let's see here. What was this word? Saturday, my boyfriend drove me past the No Kings protest at our state capitol. I can't stand too long due to my heart condition, and he knew I really wanted to be there. Heidi Christensen. Yes, you were reading that. I had a lot of work to do that day. And also, it meant going to downtown Los Angeles for myself. A lot of traffic, a lot. Parking is a nightmare. And I felt intuitively safe, though I did have some friends and some family say, oh, please don't go down there. Please. I think because of what happened in Minneapolis, there's a great fear. So far, the No Kings rallies have been kept relatively safe, but there's always that fear that something could go wrong. And I had people glad that I didn't go. I mainly just went for selfish reasons. I just had to stay home and get some work done. Geocosmic Valentine, what did you think about that? Yeah, getting that, I sometimes, like when I do the show with Whimsy, you'll see me, and because I don't know what it's going to come out of the deck. I have an offbeat method. I just keep shuffling until a card falls out. It works for me. And so when I see something like that, I'm like, yeah, the tower moment. And you know what that means. That's something. I'd love to know how that ties in with your astrological forecast. And what I get from William Paley this week. But yes, that was sweet of your boyfriend to do that for you, Heidi Christensen. Let's see. I am looking at the time here. It's 6:11. I need to wrap up in like 3-4 minutes. Would somebody like to ask me something? Well, I'm here. And it can be this, it could be something about old show business, old Hollywood, anything. What would you like to ask me? What was this here? Kate and I caught the tail end of the Los Feliz North Kings protest. Oh my God. Now I'm embarrassed because I live here. I was home all day. I was just deeply immersed in work, and I didn't even go outside my door. And so that's a little embarrassing to know there was like a No Kings rally right here in my neighborhood, because I would have gone. I would have gone at least for an hour or two. But I'm very, very proud of the people who did. It's about making Okay, it's cliche, but it's making your voice heard. It's about putting your collective energy out there, putting your collective energy together to make a powerful, powerful statement. And I think also because so many of us have been just feeling assaulted, you know, by this government, all the things that have been going on, it's almost been like a mallet over our heads. We needed this. We needed something where we could just come together like a big family and reassure each other that we're here for each other. And, some of my channeled messages that I've read on Whimsy's show, um, Eleanor Roosevelt, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, among others, have all said the same thing. Folks, it's your individual power. You've got to find your own personal peace, your own personal power, and then you've got to share it with each other. And because we've got to be here for each other right now. That's how we're going to survive this. So I thought the No Kings rally was beautiful. 8 million people, thousands of different events all over the country and all over the world also. Yeah, let's see here. Andy, I apologize. I missed your information about Kermit. I am so sorry. I hope other people saw it. I would backtrack, but I'm running out of time here because I've got a cat set in about 2 minutes. But I humbly apologize. I hope everybody reads what Andy wrote about Kermit. Oh, wait, Heidi Christensen, I think I missed. Oh, you missed it also. What was your info? I don't know if you want to share it again quickly, Andy, or not. I'm so sorry. Sometimes it's hard when I'm here talking or I'm reading and to keep up with all the comments. This is where I need like a floor director. I need someone here to prompt me. I've always said I wish YouTube was like a teleprompter where you could look straight into the camera and then you could just see a scrolling of the words. Maybe there is such a thing. Maybe I'm just too tech ignorant to realize how to do that. Was Andy, do I remember the name Brandon Tartikoff? Yes, the president, I believe the president of NBC back in the 1980s. Caden, I believe there's a May 1st general strike. Hey, all the power to the people, all the power, anything we can do to make a difference with our voices, with our energy, because we individually matter. As part of my job, I talk to people all over the country every day. And I hear over and over, people's like, you're not holding me down anymore. I'm not taking this crap. I'm speaking up. And it's really exciting. Even older people with canes and walkers are getting out to these rallies. All ages, all demographics. It's very unifying. Let's see, what was this here? Any other comments real quick? Anybody want one last card or anything? One last question before I sign out? This has been fun. I'm really looking forward to doing this channeling with William Paley. Sometimes. Oh wait, Andy, you're repeating your comment a couple of times. I'm so sorry, Andy, but hopefully other people did see it. What it was you said about Kermit. What was this, Heidi? I think you should have a glass of ice water and chill before you have to go. Probably so. It is hot here. And you know what I've been doing a lot lately is lemon water, iced lemon water. It's so refreshing. It's so healthy for you. I just keep it in my refrigerator all the time. Oh, Andy, it's not going through. I'm so sorry. Well, Andy, I promise you, we respect you very much and value what you have to say. And I'm sorry if it got overlooked, but like I said, I hope people saw what you wrote. But I didn't see it, and Heidi said she didn't see it either. But people can scroll back and look for it. We all care about what you have to say, Andy, and we respect you very much. Let's see, it is 6:17. I've got to go, but again, if anybody has a question or anything before I go, I would be delighted to do that for you. I am grateful to every one of you here. Um, it was fun doing some of this today. What was this, Heidi Christian? If you take any fruit, herbal tea, slices, lemon, whatever sweetener you want, nice water. Oh, it's so delicious. I know. You know what else is good? Slices of cucumber in ice water. Oh gosh, it's so refreshing. And I think, you know where I discovered that of all places? Pottery Barn. You know, because it was in a store in a mall, and they were demonstrating, all their summer stuff like the umbrellas and the beach chairs and all that. And they had this big glass water thing with a little faucet on it, and they had it filled up with cucumbers and ice water, and it was there for the customers to try. And I just fell in love with it. And of course, cucumber is very cooling. And Dr. Whimsy Anderson is the first to remind us, about inflammation in the body. She treats a lot of this in her practice. It's quite prevalent. And she said in the year of the fire horse, a lot of us may have to contend with inflammation in our bodies. I use the word may. I don't want to say for fact, but we need to be on the watch out for it. So we need to eat a lot of cooling foods, the anti-inflammatory diet. And among those are things like cucumbers, celery, vegetables. Sounds refreshing just even talking about it. Oh, wait, Andy, the Kermit Frog dressed as Chaplin. Yes, I mentioned that. That statue is on top of the studios. It was when Jim Henson owned it, and now it has been, because new owners are there, the statue has been moved. I forget if it's I think it's a filmmaking school. I could be wrong on that. I think it's in Georgia. It might be Atlanta. I could be completely wrong. I could look that up. But the statue is in very good hands. Anyway, because I have to go take care of 6 cats in 2 different places, plus my own Sasha, I am going to cut this a little early today, but thank you all for being here. It just means the world that you support me every week. You come through. And as I said, I do private readings. I'm doing a lot more of these now. And you can reach me at dransfieldchuck@gmail.com. The information is here on my page. Please be sure to catch me on the Oracle of Whimsy channel. Oracle of Whimsy channel. I can't talk. I do 2 shows with her, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Taco Tuesdays and Hot Topics Thursdays. Both of these 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We talk about a lot of news events. We throw a lot of cards on this, and we take questions from the audience. So please check me out there. Check me out here. I have intentions to put a lot more videos on here. I might even just spontaneously come on here and just do a few short lives and do card readings for people. Just have some fun together, and maybe I can even help some people, which always means a lot to me. I really have such appreciation for all of you. I thank you very much. And of course, if I told you, if you can reach me for private readings, I also do artwork. I've shown this, this is not showing up too well, my painting of Betty Davis from Dark Victory. Very hard to show this because I can't pull back far enough, but I am a professional artist. I can often receive channeled messages from subjects as I do portraits. So hit me up if you're interested. And thank you, Andy. Thank you for your compliment. And Chuck, it was Atlanta and the Center of Puppetry Arts. Thank you so much for that, Andy. Thank you for saying what I could not think of there. And thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Oh, wait. Whoa, Geocosmic Valentine. Wow, the fur on that painting looks so real. Well, thank you. I worked really, really hard. Let me tell you, the hardest thing in the world, at least for me, is painting fur, because it means painting strand by strand by strand by strand. And I've done about 3 paintings like that, and I never seem to learn my lesson. I have this weird idea, "Oh, it'll be easier this time since I've done it before." No, it never gets easier. The 2 paintings I did before this, I did a painting of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz on the day they got married, and Lucy was wearing this silver fox fur and coat over a black dress. Desi was carrying her over the threshold, and I did that as a painting. I don't have that handy, but I can show that sometime. And also, I was commissioned by someone, wanted a painting of Lucy and Desi when they were young, and then when they were older. And I found a very sweet picture of them when they were in their 70s. And, they never got over each other. They were in love to the day Desi died. In fact, their last words to each other, literally on the phone, were, "I love you." And that's when Desi closed his eyes and fell into a coma after talking to Lucy, literally. So I did a painting where it was Lucy and Desi, older and younger. And the younger version, of course, was Lucy wearing that damned fur coat and hat. Oh, took me like 2 weeks just to paint that, just the fur, and this one as well. But I always loved the reference picture of Betty Davis from Dark Victory. Anyway, I do have to go. I thank you. I will be here next week, and of course, you can find me on the Oracle of Whimsy channel tomorrow and Thursday. Thank you very much for being here, and I appreciate you tremendously. Okay, and let me find my off button here. And some pop-up bulletins here covering it. Okay, now I'm going to say goodbye.